morning. It is that time again. Sunday sunrise. My friend was telling me about this commercial for Geico where, like, guess what day it is? And this camel comes through. Guess what day it is? It's hump day. Like, who gets happier than a camel on Wednesday, I guess, and pastor on Sunday? Anyway, we're going to get a good one today. I hope that it's not too windy. Maybe you can see the little bits of foam blowing across the sand. It's kind of a windy morning, so we'll just hope for the best. Worst case scenario, you get a lovely sunrise view. But this morning I've been thinking about a question that people ask me a lot, which is like, where is God when bad things happen? You know, how do we understand when we see horrible events in the news and when we see tragedies happen to each other, when bad things happen in my life? Where is God in the midst of that? It's not an easy question, and I'm not going to give you a satisfying answer. So you can just mute now, I guess, if that's what you're hoping for. But the reality is, the only kind of bad things happening that I can really talk about God being in are the ones that have happened to me. Because I don't know what it's like for you. I don't get to know what it's like for you when tragedy strikes in your life. When I read horrible headlines in the news about tragic things happening, violence, natural disasters, and the like, I don't know what it's like for them. I'm not there. What I do know is that trying to compare my tragedy, my bad thing, my disaster to someone else's is fruitless. It doesn't help anybody. What I can speak to is in my own life when bad things happen. And I was sort of thinking about, you know, I think sometimes, have you ever answered the question, like, what's the best thing that ever happened to you? Like, what was the best day of your life, you know? That's easier to come up with. This morning I was trying to think of what's the worst thing that ever happened to me? What's the worst thing that's ever happened in my life? So that maybe I could start to wrap some words around how God was present in it. And what I came up with was the day my mom died. It was totally unexpected. I think it's the only time in my life that I have howled in despair. I've had other slow, quiet pain. That was definitely the most loud and tragic pain of my life. It was almost 14 years ago now. And in that moment, I couldn't necessarily speak to where God was. I was in my own stuff. I was in my own pain. I wasn't even looking for God right in the moment. But one of my colleagues at the time, I was working at the American Heart Association, was driving the car, and he was there to comfort me. And I went back to the office to gather my things and take the rest of the day off, and another one of my colleagues was there in the office, and we didn't know each other well. She had only been on staff for a couple of weeks, and she burst into tears. And that's what they call compassion, you know, in it with someone else. Passion means pain, com means together, like with. And so to witness that kind of compassion from somebody I barely knew, that was God showing up. There were friends and family. There were people who supported and brought meals and offered condolences. Here comes the sun. And God was in each of those things. And just sort of right there in the middle of it. And it's not like magic genie in the sky granting wishes make me feel better. That's not how God works. Not the God I know. So, you know, that where is God when bad things happen? Right smack in the middle of it all. Just maybe not quite in the version you expect. I mean, I don't know what people expect. Look, I have little friends running by. You know, do we expect God to make us stop hurting? Would that be an appropriate response to death and destruction, to not feel pain? Or if we just want God to stop bad things before they happen? Well, I don't think God's that intrusive and coercive. Imagine all the people that would have to be coerced or forced to change their lives in order not to have something bad happen. I have this vision I go to. I call it the porch, where I go and I, in my head, sort of sit on this porch and get real quiet and hang out with God. It's my little spot. And God is never very instructive in that space, but is very comforting. And I can tell you in my own pain, from the most tragic to the least, there's always been a source of comfort. So I guess that's where God is, in the midst of the tragedy, when things go wrong. He's not going to force us to be robots that never do anything wrong. So then there will always be spots of pain and death and destruction, I guess. But God's there anyway. And here's that beautiful sun. God's there, right? Painting this beautiful sunset, bringing us hope, encouraging us that there's a new day. And whatever kind of grief you're in, whatever kind of pain you might be in, there's another side to it. There's hope on the other side. If you're in the middle of the muck and the mud, don't stop there. Look for the people around you who can comfort you. Because I just always feel like God's out there somehow, some way, extending wide open arms for that comforting hug through other people, through a sunrise, through like those little moments of unexpected laughter and hope and peace that don't make any sense in the midst of tragedy, but that always seem to show up. May you always be comforted in the midst of your tragedy. And if you can believe that God would do that for you, then have faith that God will do that for each one of God's very own children. I pray that you go forth into your week with renewed strength and hope, knowing that you're loved and that God's comfort is there for you. It's in there somewhere. You know, you'll find it. Let me give you a few more minutes this sunrise, because it is glorious. Grace and peace, friends.